You got something to talk about? Let's talk about it. What problems are you working through?
Right now it's just trying to get into cold calling because my other outreach sources weren't doing it.
Okay.
And it's kind of difficult to actually get into cold calling and get in after it, you know. But then also trying to frame it in a way where I can build and implement a team in the future. So still a lot to think about, but I am about to finish setting all of that up today because one of my coaches finished sending me some information, and then just gonna be hitting the phones, you know.
Nice. Is that Stefan that you're working with?
Yes, it is Stefan.
Okay. Yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to him. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I saw that he posted in that Discord channel. Which are you in that OG Discord channel? OG RSC. If not, I'll add you to it. It's okay. There's I think there's 13 of us in there that were all part of RSC at one point, and we all just kind of combined together. Now it's basically just a bunch of agency guys
really?
building, but he's in that as well. And he was like, "Hey, anybody looking for like a cold caller team or anything like that?" And I've been thinking about that myself, but I really like cold calling. I think it's one of the most effective outreach methods for what you're doing. Just because if you can get somebody on the phone and then you can find a way to get them to your Instagram page and show them what you can do, it's such a no-brainer sale.
It is, yeah. And I guess it just depends on how you actually approach it. But for me right now, I'm kind of in the stage of nervous, you know, don't really know how to approach some of the objections, that kind of stuff. So sometimes it just ends up being like either I stutter a lot, either I just forget what to say, or, you know, just that kind of stuff. But I guess I'll work my way through it.
Yeah, 100%, dude. It's just reps. It's just like going to the gym, right? Yeah. Like, you remember your first, 100 times going to the gym and you just kind of feel like an idiot?
Yep.
Yeah, and then, you know what? Yeah, and, you're pretty active in the gym now, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I remember even during school, and I used to go to school. I'm online now. But I remember I was making constant excuses after I'd come back from school. I'd be tired, whatever. So I would end up not going to the gym. And I just went one day, just like, you know, you really gotta go. So you're gonna go whether you like it or not. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it after school, so I started going before. So I'd wake up at 4 in the morning, run to the gym, mile-and-a-half run, 20 degrees outside. As soon as I got into the gym, it felt like heaven because my hands weren't freezing off. Because I didn't have anything other than gym shorts and a hoodie and some, you know, like a gym t-shirt, and that's it. Like 20 degrees outside, just running, like my life depends on it, and that was my whole life for most of the school year.
Wow. Yeah. It's funny that I used to have to walk to school every day too. Like, that was, my mom always found a way to find us like an apartment or something that was close enough where I could walk. And some of those days during the winter, man, you just kind of like hustle because it's so cold and you're so happy to be at school because you can feel your hands again.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. My school's been kind of weird. They always just either make it too hot inside the classrooms, or it's like freezing. I don't know. They could never figure anything out.
Yeah, always rather have it too warm, but that's just me. Like, I always had a pair of shorts with me or something. Like, rather be warm than cold. I hate being cold, which is why I need to move out to Texas or somewhere a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, dude. I know like you have a lot going on and you're working on my projects constantly and things like that. Before we get like too far into kind of what you do and like how you do it, like, do you want to run a little bit of an intro on yourself and kind of let people who you are and why you're here?
Honestly, I would say I'm basically just your average guy who decided it was enough of just kind of going through the motions of school, you know, whatever, just kind of being used as by your friends, you know, not really having real friends or anything like that. Of course, everyone has their backstory, all of that, but mine is more like I was just tired of going through the motions. Just every day just felt like, why do I exist? And honestly, just with what's going on in the world, with how I was seeing people just obese, you know, just the way they acted, the way they showed themselves in public, the way that they acted, like I already said that, but it's just, I was just like, man, I don't want to be like these people. And I decided, it's whatever, just let's start doing something. And that led to me starting to build up my own business, learning about content, learning how to scale content, starting to do it for some, I believe I did like help my parents out or maybe some relatives, giving them some advice, tips like that, which eventually led to me finding a connection, getting my first client, and then just starting to learn more about it and just eventually starting to scale my company. It's not huge at all right now, but I'm still working on it. And it's mostly just coming from, I don't really want to be like these people. I don't want to be one of the 1,000 people in this crowd of, I don't know, like some concert or some football game or whatever like that, And that's like my main motivation. I just don't want to be like these people,
Why do you think? Where do you think that comes from? Like, do you feel like I can relate to that feeling a lot, and I ask myself often, like, why is it that I feel different, or why is it that I seem like I'm not really okay with just being another person in the crowd? I really want this level of status, and it's not even really like a money thing. It more comes from like honestly, I have no idea. I change my mind on this constantly, but in your experience, kind of with your background, like, why do you think you feel so much different than everybody else?
I think it's just like a lot of reflecting, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm sure everyone can say like they've been betrayed, they've been, backstabbed by their friends, all of that kind of stuff, which of course it happened to me a lot. But I was always more like trying to reflect and look back at just every little detail. Like every conversation I would have for the next 3 days, I'd be looking back at it. What could have I said differently? Maybe I said something dumb, whatever. And that just led to me developing this understanding of it, of like, why am I even arguing with these people? These people don't even try to understand me. I'm trying to understand them, and they're just not even trying to comprehend what I'm saying, And then that was the point where I was just like, screw it, and, just went for it.
Yeah. I have that curse as well. I have conversations that come through my head when I'm like in the shower or something from 10 years ago. I'm like, man, I wish I would have said that differently. But I think you're totally right. And the self-reflecting thing is an interesting point, because everybody talks about like journaling and, all the gurus tell you to do that, but nobody talks about really the reason why, like why self-reflecting is important. It allows you to like think about all your situations in a different way. And like, oh man, if I would have said it this way, maybe I would have got that outcome. And that's almost like having another try at that. If you can imagine it in your head, then that's like practicing for the future result.
Mm-hmm. I've even gotten to the point where, like, I can even like understand based off of someone typing something, like the tone of their typing, all that kind of stuff. I can understand their general mood, what they might say, what their perspective is on certain things. It's like I'll mention something and then I can tell the difference between their messages before and after, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
you didn't like that, or something like that. And
that's so funny, dude. My best friend makes fun of me for this. He was dating this girl for a little while, and sometimes she would reply to his text messages from me. Like he'd be driving or whatever, and as soon as I would get a message from her, just the way it was written, where the period was, if there was grammar or not, how things were capitalized, to be like, oh, what's up? I know it's you. Like immediately, it could be the next text message, and like I noticed those same little things. I wonder if there's like something causing that in both of our brains. Like I wonder if that's something that's like not supposed to be there.
I think it's just subconscious. I think everyone has a certain degree of that, but it's like how much of it you lean into. Like how much of it do you listen to, and do you start to understand it? Because at the end of the day, you're not really going to understand it unless you figure it out. Unless you start to understand, what we're saying, and then you start to notice the patterns. If you don't ever start noticing it, you're just going to brush it off. But that's what I think it is. I think it's just we understand the power of it, so we pay attention to it. And we understand what I guess the being able to know what someone's thinking or their tone or that kind of stuff over a text message can be pretty powerful, right?
Yeah,
like when you sent me that first message of like, here, just edit these 20 clips into or these 4 podcasts into 20 clips. I was like, okay, this guy's not invested yet. So then I had to overdose on value to get you invested.
Oh, you're calling me out, dude. Yeah, you're right. Yep. I was like, I knew that I already knew, like, and trusted you because you came from a reference. And I was like, okay, this is going to be my guy. You're right. I wasn't fully committed into, like, growing my socials yet. I was like, I just need these clips done to go out with my podcast. And you did over deliver. You got them done, like, all 4 podcasts done in, like, 5 days, I think. 5 business days. And I was like, okay, well, this is clearly worth it. Let's go. And then you dropped your price. I was like, okay, well, that's just too easy, dude. Let's go. And now you have me on a system where I'm going to be recording like a madman every other day.
Exactly.
That's funny. It's funny that you called me out like that. That's a first on this podcast. I appreciate you for that.
Yeah. I mean, I got to give an example, and
right.
One that you can relate with the most.
100%. It's my own bullshit.
I wouldn't even call it that. I think it's everyone goes through something like that. You didn't know me. You didn't know what I had to offer. I mean, I'm sure you've been through a bunch of other editors, things like that, who were just like, oh, yeah, I can, edit all this stuff, but they didn't care, They were just like, oh, here's the videos back. And then, like, 2 weeks later, where's the next video? Just...
a lot of that. A lot of Fiverr hires where it's like, okay, I'll upload all the drive. I'll go into the drive, and they haven't even, like, touched them, downloaded, done nothing, and it's been 3 weeks. Like, okay, that was a waste of $150 or whatever it was. But yeah, you've been really on top of it, which is why you're going to scale this thing with no problem.
I hope so.
Why did you pick content to get into? Out of all the industries you could have picked, why content? It's like the hardest one.
In the very beginning, I had this YouTube channel, and it was some, crappy gaming channel that every 6-year-old has. And at that point, I got into editing. I was using some weird software that probably no one's ever heard of. And, like, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed putting the video together, which led to me editing a lot of things for Stefan, for, I don't know if you know Andres Contreras, a few other people. And then that just kind of led to me, just doing more editing stuff for more people. And then I was like, editing's kind of getting boring. These projects need to be much better. Like, I don't have the time. I don't have the, the ability to think on my feet as well to be able to come up with good graphics, all that kind of stuff. So I decided to, get paid for all the editing stuff. That was a while ago. And now I have an editor who does all the editing. And in the future, we're probably going to get more editors. We've already discussed that with him. And, like, it's just, I don't have to edit anymore. And I can manage, I can plan, I can, scale the company. And back to your question of why I even started this. And I guess when I was just starting this, when I was just committing to starting an agency or all this kind of stuff, I remember I was in a call with one of my friends who was also doing it, who was more experienced. He was like, man, this is really difficult, ads and then all this other stuff. And he just made Facebook ads look like this the most complicated thing on earth. And I was just like, man, that sounds really hard. I don't want to do that. So then I was like, oh, I'm actually really into content. Might as well do something with that. And then I got my first real estate client and started doing that.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I went the Facebook ads route, and it is the most complicated thing on the planet. Because, like, it's one thing just to, like, create something, just to come up with a good creative and a good headline, sure. It's all the back-end information that is so complicated. And I never thought, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, and I just thought I was not good enough to create good content. I had a different idea of what good content was, and what it had to be. And I've come to learn from, talking to guys like yourself and other that the more authentic, the more real you can get about it, the more, like, on brand you can be is what's important, not necessarily the production value of it.
Yeah. I mean, there's videos of just people with their iPhone just telling this crazy story that get millions of views, It's... Yeah. It really depends on the actual video itself, not the production quality, any of that kind of stuff, Yeah. And, like, a phone camera is good enough where you don't need a cinema camera anymore, So... that just works perfectly.
Yeah. I'm noticing that as well. I follow this old guy on Instagram, and literally all of his videos are just him hiking. And the start of each video just goes friendly reminder, and then it's some helpful tip about how not to be a jerk, basically. And that's the whole video. Each one gets 20 million views, 15 million views, 100 million views, and it's 8 seconds of just him hiking through the woods. Nothing special at all. He even uses the Instagram captions. No music, no nothing.
Perfect. I mean, yeah, I think using like Instagram captions and stuff plays a big role in that, of just seeing like, oh, they didn't like put a bunch of editing, these fancy captions or anything like that. So it just makes it more like, oh, this guy probably edited this in 10 seconds, So that just makes it feel more relatable. Because whenever you watch a Netflix movie, you don't go, oh, I can edit that tomorrow, Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at,
Yeah. Would you say like relatability right now is like the most important metric in Instagram right now?
I think just in all social media platforms, relatability is one of the top things of like, if like, let's say you're going through like a breakup or something like that. And I'm sure there's millions of people that are. And like content like that really like goes deep on a really powerful emotion like that will get a lot of views because it's showing people how to deal with that. And that's something that's very common. That's very, like, it does a lot of damage to you as a person, as, like, on your mental health. And, like, that's something that people will come back to. They'll watch video after video on that, So it's not like a one video and done type of thing. So It really depends on the power of the emotion that is at play. And then, of course, the video has to be good, have good information, and then it'll get pushed out well, And that's really it.
Okay. So like people like to use the word you have to drop value in every video, and it feels like the definition of that word just doesn't even really exist anymore. Everybody's got a different perspective on what value is, and value to someone could be value to someone else. So like I know you kind of took me through a process when you were first getting onto my Instagram. Like, what are the first couple things that we can do to somebody's Instagram, or that they could do while listening to this show, that they could automatically just make their Instagram more relevant here in 2025?
Yeah. Well, if they run a business, or let's say some sort of, brand or something like that, the best thing you can do, from what I've seen work on other people's accounts, is put the posts page just be completely like not promotion, like completely just about you, about like the work you do, who you are as a person, family life, just personal things that will allow people to connect with you on a personal level, because if they just see like a corporate office, maybe your videos are good, but that's all you have. You don't have any background about yourself. People aren't going to have that subconscious trust with you, And the Reels tab is, of course, just Reels. And in the Reels, you want to have a very consistent like background. So you don't even need to make thumbnails for Reels. Like, as long as it's the same background, same captions, like same, like basically same idea of the background, just across all your videos, that just looks satisfying. It looks clean. It looks professional, even if the videos aren't super highly edited. And those are just some very basic things. And then, of course, making sure that your bio isn't super complicated, just what you do, who you are, and then a link. And that's it. Those are like the most basic tips for how to set up your Instagram page to be as like appealing to look at and like easy to navigate as you can,
So you really want your homepage, when somebody clicks on your page after watching a video or whatever, you really want them to highlight your personality. Hey, this is who I am as a person. So like for me, like I'm a husband, and I'm a father, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I run podcasts. Like, so like on my homepage, you'll see like photos of me and my daughter, photos of me and my wife, me sitting at my desk working. And then if you go into my Reels, it's pretty much all podcast clips and all tips on podcasts, tips on business, things like that. All pretty consistent.
Exactly. And if you were giving business advice, can't talk today.
Dude, I feel you. It's Sunday, man.
Yeah. If you were giving we
have an awesome bloopers reel, man. Oh, no. I love it. You're the first person to call me out. That's karma.
I guess so, yeah. Well, what I was trying to say is, if you were trying to give business advice on like business and how to scale a company, but you never show that you actually scaled a company before. What does that say for you? You know, it's like people are like, here, when you start a video saying, here's how you can do X thing, but I haven't done it yet. You know, it doesn't really, then people are like, okay, so this guy probably doesn't know what he's talking about. Which I guess I'm a hypocrite I'm going to call myself out. I'm a hypocrite on this because I haven't posted very much, if anything at all, to my Instagram page. But the reason for that is because I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to kind of take that next step because I want to figure out lead generation, you know, all this other back-end stuff in my business. Plus, when it's going to be summer, it's going to be easier to just move around. You know, I need to take some equipment to the gym, film, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's just a hassle whenever I have to run to the gym every time and bring like 3 or 4 bulky things with me, you know? So...
Well, I think it's important to state like where you're at too. Like, I don't think you could handle another 5 or 6 clients right now. Like,
no, definitely
you
not.
know, okay. So like to start setting up your Instagram and things like that, like that's basically your lead generation. So if you start putting together, you know, videos that are putting, you know, 10,000 views out with a call to action, hey, book a call with me, you're gonna book some calls and you're gonna sell some. If you can't fulfill, that's not good yet. So timing is important on these things.
No, yeah, definitely.
And it's not like you're not posting on anybody's Instagram. You're just not posting on yours because I know you're working on mine and I know you're working on other clients. So it's not like you're not like putting up the reps.
Yeah. And I think I would just rather get at least a couple more clients, just figure out some other things before I really dive into that of like, how can I actually give enough value to actually make an impact? Not just make some videos, that kind of stuff. Like, yes, I'm going to put out some videos that are more about me, about, like, I guess how I operate as a person, just to give some insight, some background. But I also want to have content that is actually impactful, you know? And I'm just kind of trying, like, things around with my own life, just seeing how I can be as efficient, as disciplined, as everything as I can, so that then I can actually share valuable information with people. And I think having that next level of building out a team of editors or cold callers or whoever, and then getting some more clients, I think that would be the stage required for me to be able to really give actually useful advice to people. Because at the moment, I'm posting on YouTube of, like, every once in a while I'll just post a long-form video just, like, documenting my journey. I did this a year ago when I was just starting everything. And, like, already you can see a massive difference between how I look, between how I, you know, talk. I used to stutter every 2 seconds, you know, and of course I still do sometimes, but I'm improving. And those videos aren't meant to get views. Those videos aren't meant to blow up, any of that kind of stuff. Those videos are there just to have it documented. So I'm kind of just playing this fine game of how much do I scale before I can actually be useful to people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say you're definitely useful to people. I don't like that language that you're using because you're definitely useful to people. And I think you might be feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome himself. So you already said from the videos you were making a year ago to now, there's a huge difference. Yes. You know how many people haven't changed in the last 12 months? A lot.
Probably a lot. Yeah.
A lot, dude. So like I would challenge that a little bit. However, I do believe like your timing on going like all in on trying to build your pages right now. Like we've talked about like too big, too fast, but only if you're not prepared thing. Like yes, but it's impossible to prepare for the things that you haven't experienced yet. So like I think one of the like greatest evils that we were taught growing up is that you have to be prepared for everything. I just think you have to have the confidence to go head first into something and know that you'll be all right if you do mess it up or if you do tumble and fall. And you need to prepare your mind, not necessarily prepare for the task at hand. You just have to be ready to kind of fall on your face and scrape your knees and, you know, maybe skip a gym day so you can bust out where your life hard, but it's not actually preparing for the task because you can handle that. You just got to prepare your confidence.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I guess you just called me out. I definitely can, you know, get that started and really just do that. But I guess I'm still facing this dilemma of like, give me 1 second. My headphones.
I'll get a testimonial going for you too. We'll make some videos out of this and we'll.
Oh yeah.
Kind of put you out there because I've already had people ask me
My headphones are not very happy right now.
Oh, they're not? Let's see.
No.
I can see. Are they still connected? They are still connected.
No, they're connected. It's just like very glitchy audio. All right, there. We're good now.
Okay, cool.
Actually, no, never mind. 1 second. I'll connect my.
You don't need them. Let me just click this echo cancellation button. Or if you have other headphones.
Hello?
And
all right, we're good.
Yep. You can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I can see your audio settings. Cool thing about Riverside. It lets me check all your stuff.
Is it good now?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, perfect.
I was calling you out on something. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, I was reading through your bio that you put, and I'm really, really interested in this mindset stuff, particularly how your friends were making fun of you for trying to run the marathon, and you really just did it to prove them right. Can you? I want to hear that story.
Yeah, I mean, so in school last year, I went to physical school. Now I'm online, but last year my friends and I were kind of always like saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this great thing," and then we wouldn't do it, and that became kind of a running joke between us. And of course, this was between like a smaller group of actually closer friends to me. But like, what ended up happening is we all kind of started arguing, and one of my more chubby friends was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna come back next year with a 6-pack," and something about that really made me mad because I knew for a fact that he wouldn't, and he didn't. But and I was just like, you know what? What if I made him feel terrible if I did it? And the funny thing is, I did get the 6-pack, but I didn't go back to school to show them. So I don't know what they think about that, but I mean, then same thing with the marathon, of where I was like, yeah, guys, I'm gonna run a marathon. About like 2 or 3 months before I was gonna do it, because I just thought it sounded cool. And
Agreed.
then it was getting to the point where I was actually gonna have to run it, and I'm like, damn, I gotta prepare. So I did. I ran a lot of miles every day to the point where my knee felt like it was going to explode if I took another step. And it was 2 days before the marathon.
Oh, no.
So I basically all night stayed up, just using my massage gun, just trying to find every stretch I can think of to sort that out. And it got a little bit better. Then I was still running some more laps to, get prepared before the final day. And my knee started hurting again. And I was just like, whatever. I'll just suffer through it. And with, like, about halfway through, I changed the way I was actually stepping on the ground. And my knee was fine for most of it. And, like, halfway through, I was miserable. It was boiling hot outside because it was still during the summer. Like, I think right after the summer, in September. Okay, because I don't know if you know,
so it's
but
still hot.
I ran the marathon the day of my birthday.
Oh, yeah. Birthday. Okay. On your 18th birthday.
Yes, because I thought it sounded cool.
Yeah, agreed. Also agree.
And, I mean, I just ran it. Like, halfway through, it was painful to take a step. And I did have to, like, sit down for a couple of times and just take a breather. Because I prepared a lot, but I didn't prepare enough, I don't think. Oh, so are you good?
The marathon is oh, can you see me?
No, your webcam. Okay.
Is a marathon 26 miles?
26, yeah.
Holy crap. I complain about running a mile.
My mile was easy.
Yeah, apparently.
And, I mean, I just kept going. Like, it got to the point where my legs started hurting so bad, my calf felt like it wanted to tear itself apart. So I would, like, run maybe, like, 2-3 miles, and then I would sit down for, like, a couple minutes on the ground, and then my leg would feel better, and then I would keep running, and then it was like a cycle, you know? And that basically helped me get through the marathon. It wasn't as fast as I would have wanted, but it's my first one, so I'm not going to really hold myself to that as much. But I finished it, and the entire time I was running, as I felt the pain, I was just thinking not only of the looks of my friends who would have been like, what, you actually did it? And also my brother, who was still sleeping, whose birthday it was as well. And then my family, who I just told them I was doing it, but they probably thought I wasn't going to actually do it. And then I just kind of showed up back home, showed them the mile tracker, and I was like, yeah, there you go. And then I passed out on my bed afterwards.
Holy crap, dude. Wait, do you have like a twin brother or something?
No.
Just same birthday?
Adopted, so he's my stepbrother. But we just happen to be a year apart, same birthday.
That's
We're on
freaking
opposite
cool,
sides
dude.
of the planet. So, I mean, it's just a coincidence.
Wild.
Yeah, I know.
Wild. Dude, that's so crazy. You just came back with the mile tracker. Here you go.
Yep.
I did it. Pass out.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Dead for. So why? I mean, again, back to like this mindset thing, man. It seems like what goes through your head when you're struggling, when your knees feel like they're going to explode. What goes in through your head that says, you know, keep going? Like, why? I'm not understanding.
I don't know. It's like a very reflexive response for me. It's like, this hurts. That means that's good. It's like, if it hurts, no one is doing it. And I knew, it's just because all of my friends, everyone I've ever really talked to has always just been like, oh, that hurts, let me just take a break, you know, oh, pain, whatever. And I've just kind of learned to suffer through it. Just, like, I've started to see, like, because it always made me mad whenever they would go, oh, this hurts, and they would, like, stub their toes, something minor like that. And I'm just like, you didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And then, like, anytime I get that now, I'm just like, good. I'm going to show them, you know? And that gives me more of a reason to keep going, you know? It's like, I think I listened to one too many David Goggins things, because I've gotten to the point where, like, whenever I would get tired, like, out of breath, I would intentionally speed up for another, like, minute or two without letting myself stop, any of that stuff. And, like, afterwards, I almost just fall over as soon as I stop, you know? But I don't know, even as I'm about to, you know, like, feeling like I'm about to fall over, I just feel like this adrenaline rush of just like, fuck, yes, you did it, you know? Like,
yeah. That is such a rare thing. When I first started boxing, I joined this boxing gym, and boxing is rough. I'm not sure if you've ever trained or anything like that, but the beginning stages when you're figuring it all out, it's a tough workout. Your heart feels like it's gonna jump out of your chest. But I got everybody in the habit of saying, like, when we got to that point, normally like the last 3-minute round, all of us are just dying. And our gym is is above a regular fitness gym, no air conditioning, no windows, no nothing. And during the summertime when I started, it was 100 degrees. So all of us are just dying. But I got in the habit of saying, as soon as I felt like that, if I could say the words "feels good," it would give me enough energy to get through that last round. And we would all start saying it. One of us would say it, then it would echo throughout the gym, like, feels good, we're good. And then we'd all make it through the round. And there's something to that, if you can just kind of reflect a little bit and keep going. And it's not even for anybody, not for anybody else but you, then it'll make it happen. Oh man, it's so rare. It is. And then when you do finally rest too, and you're like, I've earned it, you know, you knew that you left it all out there. Mm-hmm. Now, did you play sports or anything growing up?
Oh yeah, I did. I played soccer. I did swimming for a long time.
Okay. Oh, so you got crazy cardio anyway.
I've always been into cardio, I guess. So, yeah.
Those two sports are like the hardest in my opinion. Soccer is just 3 hours of hell. It's just running.
Essentially.
That's all it is.
I
swimming.
was just so burned out.
Yeah, I bet. And
Right
swimming
after.
just uses every muscle. It's one of my favorite things to do is to swim and be in the water. But, 20 minutes in the water and you're exhausted. So like I have friends that
It's
played
fun.
water polo and stuff, and they were always jacked and in the best shape out of anybody.
Yeah, I mean, we would show up to swim practice, and the swim coach guy would just say, "All right, 500 breaststroke," and they would just leave.
Yeah,
and
like that's
we'd
enough.
just be doing that for the next 20 minutes, so just like, back and forth and back and forth, and it was just like, oh god.
Yeah. How do you think your mental fortitude in athletics has applied over to you in business or will help you in business?
I think it builds up that like stamina, It builds up the ability to take a lot and then be fine after. It's like the whole thing about taking a beating and then still being completely fine, And I see it the same way as like physical and mental of like running and then also just sitting at your computer working, like banging your head against the wall until something works, That's just kind of the same thing in my opinion,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Business is so like mentally difficult because a lot of the time like you're solving problems that you never thought were going to be a problem that nobody told you about. Where with like athletics, it's pretty clear what the problem is. The problem is that you're weak and that you need to practice more. Where with business, like the practice every day is simply showing up and trying to solve the problem.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
like I know like sitting 12 hours behind a computer banging your head at something just kind of sucks, but it's also required to get to where you're going.
It definitely is, yeah. And I can't lie, like this is very recent developments of mine, of just understand, like connecting the two of if I can run a marathon, why can't I sit at my desk and work all day and be able to do the same tomorrow and the next day and the next day? And like because before then my discipline was just terrible. Like I would struggle to get out of bed. Like I would just lay there for 2 hours. And like I was like, no, this can't continue. And like what I did was I said, all right, fine. We're setting an alarm, putting it on this table, and it's just going to continue hovering until you get out of bed and turn it off. And I mean that'll get you out of bed. So that's just what I do now.
Yeah, I do. Oh, I used to do something similar. Now I'm always up 10 minutes before my alarm, or I'm up with the baby all night, which either one is not great. Man, okay. So you've been tough your whole life. Again, I keep wanting to come back on where do you think that comes from? Like it's got to stem from somewhere, right? Do you think, and you don't have to answer this, I'm genuinely curious. Do you think like being adopted has something to do with that? Like having an understanding? Like what do you think that has an effect on your psyche at all?
I think it does to the degree of kind of not being able to relate as much, not being able to, like you're different genetically, like you may be taller, you may be stronger, whatever, and that's like the very baseline of it. But it's like the few years before I moved here were kind of, I think, the most important of like the struggle that my mom had to go through, all of that kind of stuff, just kind of living in a different environment and then being put into this one. You still carry over some of the ways that, some of the memories, some of the ways that you used to think, all of that kind of stuff. And when I moved over here at first, for the first, I don't even know, like 8 years, maybe.
And how old were you when you got over here?
About 6 or 7.
Okay. So old enough to remember.
Yeah. And like when I just moved over here for the first, I don't know, until 5th grade or so, if you had met me there, I would have just been standing, looking around, not knowing what was going on at all. You would be talking directly to me. Nothing would be coming in here, And like, you would probably consider me a pretty stupid person if you had met me then. And I think it's just, I just watched people kind of give me weird looks. Of course, it wasn't like that with family. Like they were very supportive. They were like polite, all of that kind of stuff. But I think it's just like you start to notice your own flaws. Even if people say, oh, you're fine, you look good, whatever. You start to notice your own flaws more and more as you see other people's reactions, not your family. Because you just start subconsciously understanding that your family's going to support whatever you do, And I think that all just kind of played together into this, all right, well, I'm just tired of trying to fit in. I'll just do my own thing. And I guess I just hated, the way that I was. I just hated how much I stood out, how incompetent and incapable I was then at just about everything. So I guess it was always just kind of like just looking around, understanding your environment, understanding what people are thinking, even if they're not telling you. And I was just like, something needs to change. And I mean, that's a process that took years. It wasn't overnight,
Right. It sounds like you've always been very, very observant and self-aware, which I can definitely relate to the part about like not feeling different than everyone else. My mom and I growing up, very interesting relationship. When I was born, her family pretty much like they weren't around. So it was just my mom and I. And my mom was young. She's 19. She had me. So we very naturally became more so like brother and sister as I was growing up instead of like mother and son. So when we would attend family things once a year, the people who I thought were supposed to be like the most like me kind of rejected me. Mm-hmm. And I immediately felt like that black sheep, and all I could do was analyze why. Why are they different than me? And I think that's where like I started my journey of like being self-aware. Like that's when I remember started like writing things down, and like just kind of trying to pick up patterns, pick up behaviors. Why are these people like this when I feel like I'm just the same? And although I wasn't adopted, and I can't ever relate to anything like that, I think where we are very similar is you took a very similar approach as I did, is we just kind of stood back and watched. And I was definitely the kid in the corner for a lot of my childhood, just watching, observing. If you would have asked me a question, I would have listened, but been very kind of standoffish and just wanting to study everything about the environment that I was in so I could understand it further, so I could be like the people that rejected me.
Exactly, yeah. And even now, I still think I am still as observant. Like in school, for example, like you said, you just kind of stand in the corner, kind of just observing everything.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if this was a thing that would happen at your school or not when you were at school, but just people that you sat with at like your table,
Yeah.
Let's say you were just doing your own thing. They walk up to you just randomly and say, hey, we're friends, right? Can you help me with this thing? And I'm like, I haven't even spoken to you. And you think, what? Like,
yeah. Yeah, my school was pretty cliquey for sure. But I have the same three best friends. I still do. From That's like great. 6th grade all the way on. And one of them lives in Austin, so we just FaceTime like every other day. One of them still lives like an hour from me, and then like my best girlfriend lives like an hour from me, and we still all chat regularly.
That's great.
But when people would come up to us, they'd be like, hey, like, you're my friend, could you help me with this? Like, I don't know you, dude. Like, I'm really comfortable with my people, and that's it.
Exactly. I mean, I only have one person who I still talk to from school, and we just occasionally lift. That's it. Like,
oh, nice.
We'll go lift. We'll go to my house. We'll go eat somewhere. Then we'll go to his house, and that's like our whole day, And that's maybe like once every 2 months or so because he's busy with school. And like same thing. It's just I want my people around, no one else,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So what do you think is like? Obviously, you're trying to build this company. You're trying to. You're in high school. No, you're in college now, right?
No, high school.
You are in high school. So when do you graduate?
In a year. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So what's plans for you like after this? Like what do you want to do next? Do you go on the college route?
I'm definitely not going to college.
Why not?
School hasn't. Well, the example I like to use for my experience of school is I walk into entrepreneurship class, right? I open my computer, I look at what the assignment is, I start working on it. 10 minutes later, because I walk in early, 10 minutes later, everyone starts showing up. I look up from my computer half an hour later, the teacher's talking about weather. Oh, guys, did you see this car crash that happened on the highway? Don't drive there. Oh, and then the bird exploded or something.
Yeah, okay. I know, I hear you.
You know? And I'd be done with my work, I don't know, like 20 minutes into class. And I'd just be watching YouTube or something on my computer because I didn't have anything else to do. And I would have to sit there for another hour and 10 minutes. You know? I just started just watching random things. Like, I learned how to cook in school, you know, because I just could daily watch
on
cooking
YouTube,
videos
probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so funny. You go to school to learn, yes, not from the professor, no, from your YouTube that you could watch anywhere.
Yep.
That's so funny, dude. So relatable.
And now, like, I would just cook my mom and I like a filet. You know, perfect medium, amazing seasoning. Of course, she likes hers medium well,
Ruin
but,
it. Ruin
yeah,
hockey puck.
That's what I think so too, but I mean, whatever she wants, so.
Yeah, to each their own.
Yep.
So we're not going college, so we're probably going to go all in on content, or what do you think's next for you?
Just the company. And, like, I even said as soon as I can, I'm going to move out to some city.
Cool.
I honestly don't know exactly where. I don't
Where do you
want to
go?
Going to be in the U.S. If I could, Europe, any day of the week.
Yeah.
You know,
which country?
Ooh, that's tough. There's a lot I would love to live in, but there's a lot I would love to do business in. You know, like there's some where I would love to wake up to an amazing view. Maybe it's, you know, like a smaller one where it's just like you just live there. But I want it like a larger kind of easy to navigate city for like business, that kind of stuff. And I just want things to be nearby me. All I need is an apartment, a gym nearby, cafe nearby, some local restaurants that I know well, and that's really it. You know, like
place to meet people
or two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough for me, you know?
You have anywhere that you like really, really want to see?
Italy. Just all over
Yeah.
Italy.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With the things that you mentioned, like you would love France. Like Lyon, France, it's a little town outside of Paris. Like it's everything that you just described, like you could get on very reasonable. And working in France as an American is really easy. They make their visa process very easy. I think you can stay for, I want to say it's like 10 months before you have to come home, and you can come home for a week or something like that, and then your visa will restart and you can go back for another 10 months. So it's very, very easy for Americans. But, I mean, that's everything. My thing with France, I hate the weather. It's too damn cold, dude. I want to live in 100 degrees year-round.
Oh, I mean, that's... If it stays that way, then sure. But if it fluctuates at all, then I would say no. You know, I've always been I'd rather it be more cold than warm kind of guy. You know,
yeah,
because you can always put on another coat. You can always put on a warmer coat. You can't. You know, you can only take your shirt off, and what now? You know, then your skin is burning, and then you're getting sunburned. And I actually got sunburned when I was running my marathon. So, like,
okay, fair enough. I don't burn. Me and my wife, we don't burn at all. So when we moved to Louisiana for a little while, and there, most of the time, even though they're covered in snow for the first time since 1960 right now, it was 100 degrees, 110 degrees at 6 a.m. in the summertime. And yeah, just in shorts, no shirt, but comfortable. Just perfect. You know, and you have air conditioning. So, like, you bring it down a little bit inside, but that was perfect for us. And I love the snow when I'm going to go snowboarding or something like that, when I'm ready for it, when I'm dressed for it. But even when I'm snowboarding, like if I'm not sweating, I am having a bad time because I hate being cold.
Well, Yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, yeah. However, like cold plunges and things like that are definitely a part of my repertoire. You have to. How important do you think like all these like trendy health things are? Like, do you partake in any of these things?
I mean, no, not at all, really. It's just because people can come up with some crazy elaborate thing that you can do every morning, and then it'll supposedly make you a millionaire, whatever. But
Yeah.
but like, it's just like, no, I wanna have a routine. I wanna have my own things. I've invented most of my routine. Like, no one told me to do my routine the way that I do it. It was kind of like, okay, what makes the most sense for me? And I just wake up, and that's the first thing I do. And like, my morning is literally just wake up, get out of bed, do some push-ups, and then shower, and then get to work. That's literally it. And it's the simplicity of it, keeping it simple, quick, is phenomenal. Because I don't know if you know, but like, as soon as you're done sleeping, when you wake up, that's when your mind is like in the most flow state, or like the most easy to like start working on something state. But after I wake up, I'm like groggy. I can't really do anything, so I have to shower to wake up real quick, and then I get back to it. So then I still retain some of that flow state, and then I can do the most effective work that way.
Yeah, I would relate to that. Definitely the best time of the day is right after a workout for me to get to work. Like, even if like you can just like get home, get a protein shake in you, and sit down and get on a computer. It's gross to skip the shower, even though I do it way too often. But like, that's when my brain is working the most. And for me, like, I have a lot of energy. So if I'm not physically exhausted sitting here for hours at a time, I get antsy, start tapping my foot or doing annoying things, or I'll go clean a random junk drawer for no reason.
I do that on the regular, though.
Yeah.
So I can really.
It's a little ADHD. Little ADHD. Nothing. Didn't hurt nobody.
Yep. I mean, for me, I would just go for a run or something like that, whenever the weather isn't freezing.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm going to try to work a running schedule back into my life. It's a hard one, dude, especially when it's icy outside. It was 20 degrees when I woke up this morning.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've run in 20 degrees before. It doesn't feel that bad. The wind is what gets me, I stood in like 6-degree weather, and there was no wind, and I was perfectly fine, Like, of course it was cold, but wasn't anything bad. But like,
it's definitely the wind.
Yeah, like, that's the worst.
Yeah,
part.
And where I live too, we're in like a wind tunnel, so it's always freaking windy. It's miserable. Yeah, I can imagine. So if we're not going to go the college route, which I'm totally agree, it's not for me, unless if you can find a way to keep yourself around college people, because that's where everybody is. Like, the best thing college does for kids, and I wish somebody would have preached this to me more, is it puts you around a whole bunch of different people, which is great, because that's more people for you to sell to. So like, I used to like audit classes, because you could audit a class for like $50 and still show up. You don't get credit for it or nothing, but you're not there for the credit. You're there for somebody to see you in the class, to make a friend, for them to ask you. The rest of the people in the classes don't know that you're just there auditing. So you're just another student.
My only thing for that is it's a very expensive way to meet people,
Meeting people is expensive. It's your lead generation.
I guess
no matter how you spin it.
I just think that you can do the same thing, if not better, just on the internet. Like, a bunch of, like,
for sure.
I've met all of my business people on Discord, And
for sure.
Yeah, so
you definitely
I just
can.
think that that's the best way, But I mean, I've never gone to college. I don't know what college is like. I've always just assumed it was like, basically, just kind of, I don't know.
It's a bigger high school.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I always just imagined that it would be just as brain dead as high school was.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of, yeah. Like,
education-wise.
Yeah.
For sure. But the only difference is, like, especially American colleges, where people fly in from all over the world to attend these universities, and have very different opinions and have very different ways of just going about things. And you cannot possibly, unless you travel, which I'm sure traveling's on your agenda, unless you travel constantly and are in those cultures, you'll never get those perspectives without it. So yes, it's expensive, to learn that way. It's a lot less expensive than traveling to each one of those countries individually. And you just never know the things that you're going to witness. Like, I was someone who, I dropped out of high school my sophomore year and went to my local community college to finish up. Basically, I joined it with a program called CEO program, which is a career development program. And as soon as I finished that, I applied and got my AA to the college, which is what they gave me. And then I applied to the state and got my high school diploma. So technically, I graduated high school, but I went through this college program to finish it. But the one thing that I really I was so thankful for is the foreign exchange students, man. Like, the way that they approached issues, like some of their problem solving things, some of the things that they do, you're just like, I would have never learned that in a million years without that experience. And that's why I like this podcast so much too. You know, like, I had Ismail on here the other day who, you know, grew up in Turkey. Mm-hmm. And like, the way he goes about solving problems is totally different the way I would talk to an agency owner here in the States solving a problem.
Yeah.
And without those conversations, like, you just can't learn it. However, I foresee you traveling here in the very near future with how your business is growing. So you're probably going to get that all on your own anyway.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, also, I think you're right about that. And I guess I've also thrown around this quote a lot of, you can always learn something from anyone, no matter how dumb or smart they are, you know?
100%.
So I mean, even I've learned things from people who I just consider incredibly stupid people at school, you know? So I guess you're right.
It's very humbling.
Yeah, with like the college route, but I just don't think it's something I want to do just to learn some things, you know?
For sure.
I would rather just try and progress my business, and even if it takes me a year or two longer, I'm not exactly in a rush right now, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I actually don't think kids should be able to attend college, like, as a full-time student, get into student debt until you're 30. Because until that, you should be required to try things up until then. Because frankly, you know, you're in this right now. How many times a week are you asked, oh, what are you going to do when you grow up? Or what do you want your career to be?
Constantly.
Right. You couldn't possibly know. You couldn't possibly know. And what you definitely shouldn't do is get into hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt on something that you don't know. Where, like, you should go try to work in a kitchen. You should go try to work in a law office. You should go intern in a doctor's office. Work security somewhere. Like, go try all these things. And then by the time you hit 30, you should get a 0-interest loan to go to whatever school in the country that you want. Because you've tried enough to know, I definitely don't want to be a cop, but I definitely want to be a cook. And you can go do that.
Yeah, and my only thing of saying why it's not like that is a joke I like to make of, that seems too reasonable, so the schools aren't going to do it.
Yeah, way too reasonable.
Yeah, way too
reasonable.
Why would they do that? Yeah.
Can you imagine the success rate of colleges, though? I bet it would be in the 90%.
It would. It definitely would be. And if they had actual programs where they would figure out, like, to show you a bunch of things, maybe, like, see what you're interested in, and then find things around that, but not just say, hey, you can have all these jobs that are similar to that, but actually help them, you know, go out in the field, maybe like an architect, seeing their actual, like, process, all of that stuff.
Yeah, go do it.
Yeah, like, why not have an architect come into the classroom and present, like, a thing of, like, explaining what they're doing, even if it doesn't make any sense to them, just showing it. And those who are interested in that will find their understanding of it, of, like, maybe they want to understand it, but they're going to go, wow, that's really cool. And then that'll open it up for them. Like, in school, I took an architecture class where we did 3D modeling software. It's a funny story. That's actually the first thing I got when I got my computer, 3D modeling software, and I 3D modeled a lot of things.
That's cool.
At 14 years old. So, I mean, like, I essentially taught the teacher how to use the software. And I would walk up to the front of the class, or not the front, but like the back of the class where the teacher's computer was, and then demonstrate it, or like screen share for the entire class, how to do certain things, you know, like, it was just the whole thing. But that was actually interesting to me because I was actually doing something more than actually doing the assignment, you know? Like, yeah. I enjoyed doing the assignment. I actually met a friend there who I'm still in contact with today. But it's not like, it's like there's a difference between doing just the assignment and then going above and beyond because you enjoy something. And oftentimes you're not given the opportunity to enjoy it enough to want to go above and beyond, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. I really like, I did like blue collar work for a long time, construction, things like that. And one thing that that industry just has perfect is they hire anybody, no experience. They put you on the job for a little bit, and then they send you to school if you like it. Oh. Like, that's exactly how it should be. So you normally work like 6 weeks kind of on the job doing grunt work. It's not fun. It's not supposed to be fun. It's like boot camp. But then if you like it, they'll send you to school. They give you a huge raise while you're at school. So you normally work on the job for 4 hours, then go to school for 4 hours. When you complete your program, which is normally like 16 weeks or something, it's never that extravagant. Then they give you another huge raise and give you a truck. And I was like, that is such an easy process to follow. And normally by the end of it, like you're making enough money to support yourself, to continue your education if that's what you want to do, to, you know, buy yourself a car, get yourself an apartment. Like you're able to do all those things. I'm like, why isn't everything like that? Because it's far too reasonable, I guess.
It's far too reasonable, yeah.
That's my new favorite quote. It's my new favorite quote. I'm going to start telling that to every person I talk to when they come up with a good idea. It's far too reasonable.
Yeah, exactly. And I have another one where it's like, one of my friends would be like, hey, I was just thinking about this thing. And I was like, caught you thinking.
Yeah, caught you thinking. It's wrong. Yeah. You thought too much about it.
Yeah. Well, the reason I came up with that was because the ideas he thought of was always the most stupid thing that you can imagine. So it became a running meme. But
yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So what are the next steps for you? Like going into 2025, what are you hoping to accomplish this year?
Honestly, just building out my own skill set of cold calling, sales, building a team, and getting a bigger team with editing as I grow my business. So cold calling team, bigger editing team, and just building a more of an automated business where I'm involved less, where everything can kind of work on its own, and I just have to pop in a few times a day, you know, just to check, just to have a call with so-and-so and whatever.
Cool.
And, like, just then use all the money I get from there, invest it into learning how to get better results, better, you know, build my own brand, all of that stuff, and then just really go at it, you know, just scale to the moon, essentially. That's the goal. Although that's a lot of things for one time, so I'm trying to take it step by step, you know?
Yeah. Overly ambitious is good, though.
It's
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
we've
if
heard
I hit
it on
this goal. I'm not
Yeah.
done, you know?
Yeah.
It's just the start.
I'm not sure if you can see my whiteboard here in the back here, but there's a bunch of numbers that are scratched off. At the very top of that list was my monthly goal. And then after I hit the goal, I go just one level above that. One slight little bump above that is the next goal. Boom, scratch it off. You can see we're almost at 10K, which is freaking great. We'll hit it this week, I think, but the goal was 5.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, so we're looking at doubling, and I think the trick to that is starting really reasonable, too reasonable, and then slowly kind of scaling up. But big goal is, always, everybody wants to have big months, right? So,
absolutely.
Where can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you? Where can we find you some clients?
Well, you can always reach out to me on Instagram, even though I don't open it that often. I only use it to post for client videos and stuff. But if you reach out to there, I'll reply. Check out my YouTube, which, you don't have to. It's kind of, the videos there aren't good. It's meant just to document. And yeah, that's basically it for reaching out to me.
Cool. And if any podcasters out there are looking for some help with their social media, you can reach out to me directly, and I can connect you as well. I brought him onto my team for a reason. He's a killer. So one piece of advice for anybody trying to scale their business in 2025, what is it?
Don't overcomplicate it. Take it step by step, and just take a step back, look at what you have to do. What do you have to do now? What do you have to do next, and then just do it. Because I used to overcomplicate everything, and it never worked out well, because I'd be editing a video, then I'd be trying to take a sales call, then I'd be, helping my family with this, and then doing that, and then nothing got done. So focus on one thing, get it done, next thing, next thing, next thing. And that's it. Just take it very simple, you know?
Solid advice. Solid advice. You heard it here. Thanks for listening, everybody. You know where to find us.